Hello everyone, are you ready for another adventure? It's me, Wokey, and I'm back with another Fate Grand Order video. And what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about the upcoming Summer banner, which is going to be the one that features Summer Kama, Summer Caenis, and Summer Sei Shonagon. That's going to be today's video. I hope you like it. If you do, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me if you plan to summon, and if you're not, feel free to let me know what you're saving up for. But at this point, I think most people... Actually, that's not true. I think a decent amount of people probably I could see summoning for Draco, which is upcoming. But for me, my next one is Anniversary, so I'm thinking, oh yeah, everyone's doing the same, right? But, you know, not the case all the time. Anyway, let's begin, shall we? So, this banner, which is the third summer banner, when is it likely coming in? It'll probably be here on Japan. It was a week after the event started. Technically, that should be on Sunday, the 26th. I know that the event itself started on the 20th, but because we went into maintenance on the 19th, I think the game considers that the actual start of the event, even though it didn't start till the 20th for us. So, I think probably on the 26th, and if it's not the 26th, it could be the 27th. And maybe they drop it early. Who knows? Either way, it's going to be here soon. But that's my guess, 26. If it's not out by then, I guess go yell at me, I suppose. And these are the three units. In terms of the rate up craft essences, we have Angel Heart, Pinky Beach, Pirates of the Jungle, Treasure of the Caribbean, Golden Path, and at the street corner of the Decorated Sea, which is both the male and the female craft essences put into one, as they do with all the third banners typically. Okay, so we're gonna go over Sei Shonagon, Caenis, and then Kama. That's the way we'll do it. We'll end it off with the showstopper because that is the 5-star. But we'll start with Sei Shonagon. Sei Shonagon, the Berserker version. She is a limited servant. She is a Berserker. She has 1 quick, 1 arts, 3 busters, 4 hits on quick, 3 hits on arts, 3 hits on buster, and 4 hits on extra. Her first skill is the Summer Street A, increases own attack for 3 turns, increases own crit damage for 3 turns, and then charges on NP gauge, 30% to attack, 30% to crit damage, 20% to NP, and this is on a cooldown of 6. Her second skill is the Night Pool Slider A, which grants self-evasion for 2 attacks for 3 turns, increase own critical damage for 1 turn, and then increase own critical star absorption for 1 turn, 100% to crit damage, and the star absorption is 500% on a cooldown of 6. Her third skill is the Elegant Summer Sweets A, recovers 1 ally's HP, grants them the burn debuff immunity for 3 turns, and then gain crit stars, 3,000 to heal, the stars are 25 and the cooldown is 5. Her passive skills are Madness Enhancement D, Independent Action, Self-Centered D, which is increased own critical star absorption of quick guards by 4%, and then 1 Vehicle Teaching B, which increases your own charm debuff resistance by 100%. The third defense skill is an Anti-Ruler Critical Attack Chance Resistance, and her Noble Phantasm is the Emotional Engine, the Vivid Full Sensation, Summer Heat, the World Knows Not. Rank D++, anti-unit, it's quick, it hits 7 times, increases own damage against servant enemies with the lawful alignment by 50% for 1 turn, this activates first. Increases own damage against shadow servant enemies by 50% for 1 turn, this activates first, and then deals damage to a single enemy. At MP level 1, it's 1,200, and if you're able to get her all the way to MP level 5, it's 2,000, and then her overcharge effect is an increased own damage against a man attribute for 1 turn. This activates first. At charge level 1, it is 50%, and if you get her all the way to the final charge level, it's a whopping total of 100%. And then we have her Bond CE, which is the Elegant Thing 2021, though I guess on our side of the game, it would be 2023 most likely. When equipped this, I would be interested to know if they change. I should go bond up my Sei Shonagon and find out for myself. If you know, actually let me know. When equipped on Sei Shonagon Berserker, increases a party's MP generation rate by 10%, increases the party's MP damage by 10%, while self is on the field. And that is Sei Shonagon, the Berserker version. How is she? Well, I think as far as a single target unit, I've used her in the past because I really do like Sei Shonagon as a unit. I think she ends up being pretty solid. The one thing that always for me is annoying to deal with, but I think if you like her, it's a little bit easier in her Berserker form, is the fact that the damage here is divided between lawful, shadow, and man, so it's very unlikely unless you're in some very specific nodes to hit all 3 of them. But thankfully, because she's a berserker and a single target, I guess you can kind of just see it as like, as long as you're doing more damage, it's fine. She is also a quick unit that can give herself a lot of crit stars, and she has 3 buster cards, so she works really well with Summer Scotty. And because she is a summer unit, that means if there's ever a really good node that just requires you to hit one person really hard, then Sei Shonagon can actually be that unit for you, because she is very good at being able to hit something really hard one time in the summer because she gets an actual damage bonus during it. So I think she ends up being like a really neat 4-star. I don't think it's anything that's too crazy out there that would be setting the world on fire, but I think she's neat. And I think the most important thing is that she looks amazing in all her swimsuits. I love her in every single one of these outfits. I'm also a big fan of Mika, so that's right, boy. I'm a big fan of Mika because of... Sorry, quick cut there because we had to make sure that Lucifer was okay because he was acting very hyperactive. But anyway, I really like the art and I like the look of Sei Shonagon, and I think probably one of the most important factors when it comes to summer units is actually how much do you care about them in a swimsuit. A lot of people like to summon during summer because it's usually a chance for them to get their fave again. Maybe they are in a new class, they have different skills, and they have like a different utility to them. And for that reason alone, I think as long as you like the unit and you can kind of mess around with them, it should be possible to do a whole bunch of things. But if you're asking me in terms of like, hey, how does this look like in terms of overall strength? I'm a newer person. Please tell me how to feel about this. The answer is I think she's just kind of okay. And you can definitely find uses for her as you could find a use for any really good single target berserker. And this one just has a more bent towards a quick kind of go for, though not everyone is also super into quick. But I like her a whole bunch because it's Sei Shonagon, and I really like her summer outfit, and I really like this unit. And I'll put up with anything else that she kind of does. But yeah, okay, that's Sei Shonagon. Let's move on to Caenis, the Rider version. So Caenis Rider, they are also a limited servant. They have 1 quick, 2 arts, 2 buster, 3 hits on quick, 3 hits on arts, 3 hits on buster, 4 hits on extra. The first skill is Beach Crisis Poseidon EX, grants parties attack for 3 turns and then increases the critical damage of male or unknown gender allies for 3 turns. 20% to attack, 30% to the crit damage to male or unknown gender, and this is on a cooldown of 5. Their second skill is the Sea King Style B. Increases his own arts performance for 3 turns, increases his own buster performance for 3 turns, then gained crit stars. 30% to arts, 30% to buster, 15 crit stars, and this is on a cooldown of 6. Third skill is Summertime Combat B+, grants self the gut status for 1 time 3 turns, gain critical stars every turn for 3 turns, increase his own critical star absorption on the waterside battlefield for 3 turns, and then gain critical stars every turn on the waterside battlefield for 3 turns. 3000 HP was what they revive with. They get 10 star regen, 500% to waterside absorption, and then 10 waterside star regen, and this is on a cooldown of 6. Their passive skills are Riding EX and the Sea God's Essence B, increases own damage by 225, and they increase own arts performance by 8%. Their third skill is an Anti-Lancer attack damage aptitude, because trust no one, not even yourself. Their Noble Phantasm is the Sea Serpent Storm Blue, Ride Fast, My Great Sea Coloring Fang, Rank B+, anti-unit, it's Buster, hits 3 times, increases own NP damage by 20% for 3 turns, activates first, increases own attack by 20% on the waterside battlefield for 1 turn, activates first, and then deals damage to 1 enemy. At MP level 1, it's 600%, and if at MP level 5, it's 1000. Overcharge effect is an increased own critical damage for 3 turns. This activates first. At charge level 1, it's 50%, and if you get them all the way to the final charge level, it's 100%. The Bonsi is the Great Sea Serpent. When equipped to Caenis Rider, increases party's buster performance by 15%, increases party's NP damage by 10%, and then a 500% chance to reduce the party's defense by 10%. This is considered a demerit, and this is while they are on the field. And that is Caenis Rider. How do I feel about them? Well, I don't actually own Caenis. They're actually one of the few ones I was not able to get during this summer, so I don't have too much experience with them, but I will say that in terms of the swimsuit game that they got going on, pretty good swimsuits all around, I would say. Very nicely done, very nicely done. I think they have some interesting gimmicks to them. especially if you're on the water side battlefield. You'll be getting a buff, and thankfully, if you're using a summer unit, it's very likely that you'll be able to trigger waterside battlefield. But if you're using them outside of summer, then it's kind of dependent on where you're kind of bringing them to. So whether or not that's a type of unit that you like to use is going to be very dependent on the person themselves. I kind of like that they have a little bit bonus here that goes to male or unknown gender allies for 3 turns. I think that's a really little neat addition that they put there. And yeah, I think it's a pretty self-explanatory. I think they probably have a lot of good buffs, and they can hit pretty hard when they're on the waterside battlefield. You just have to put them on the waterside battlefield, and that's likely during summer. So kind of similar to my feelings of Sei Shonagon, I think they are very useful in terms of being able to use them during summer. And if that's what you're looking for, then that's perfect. If you were to tell me how does that compare to all the other single target riders out there, probably just say that they are probably not anything that would set the world on fire, similar to what I said about Sei, but you know, perfectly usable, and you can work around with their gimmick. And if you want to use their gimmick for summertime, you definitely can. And if there's ever a grind node where you can actually take advantage of it, you can. Oh, but one negative for sure though is that they do not have an MP charger at all. That's something I wish that they kind of had. That's a little bit of a It's a little bit of annoying when you're going into the team build, that's for sure, because that means you can't reliably get it back or like start them with the right. It messes up a little bit. It's a little bit annoying. That's the one thing I think they could probably use. Maybe they could give Caenis a buff sometime in the future. Who knows? But that's how I currently feel. That's also, again, based off of what I feel having not actually used them in anything. So if you're someone who uses Caenis a little bit more and you want to put down some knowledge, feel free to let me know down below, and I'll be able to say it next time I talk about Caenis Rider, which would be likely next summer. When they get their banner again in a year's time. So I'll just make note of it and say I'll say this again in a year. Now let us move on to the last unit, which is Kama Avenger. She is the 5-star, and she is also limited. Kama, like I said, is a 5-star Avenger. She has 2 quicks, 2 arts, 1 buster, 4 hits on quick, 3 hits on arts, 3 hits on buster, and 5 hits on extra. The first skill is the Makara Floating A, increases own arts performance for 3 turns, then grants self-evasion for 2 attacks, 3 turns. 30% to arts, cooldown is 6. Their second skill is the Hollow Demon EX, increases own MP damage for 3 turns, then chance to charm all enemies for 1 turn, 20% to MP damage, and 100% charm chance, and this is on a cooldown of 7, and this is when it's at level 10. Mara in the Midsummer Sea EX, charges own NP gauge, then grants self debuff on attack buff for 3 turns, inflict Heartfelt Blaze debuff for 3 turns to enemies when normal attacking, increase own damage against enemies with the Heartfelt Blaze status by 10% N for 3 turns, which is the Heartfelt Blaze stack is max 10 stacks. The most important part about this one is that it gives you 50% NP, cooldown of 6. This is saying someone who has used Kama a whole bunch of times. Her passive skills are Magic Resistance A, Writing A, Avenger B, Oblivion Correction B, Self-Replenishment Magic A, Independent Manifestation E, Demon King's Essence question mark B. Yeah, I was okay. Yes. Demon King Essence is an increase to own damage by 225, and then grants self charm debuff immunity. I got lost in the sauce there for a bit. Kama's third skill is an anti-lancer attack damage anti-lancer attack damage aptitude, because don't trust Parvati. That's the main thing about Kama on this one, though I'm sure there's other deeper lancers in the Indian pantheon that they do not trust, that they would count as lancer. Noble Phantasm is Kama Rapastra. A climaxing love is passion in summer. The name also changes at stage 3, but it should have the same effect. Rank B, Noble Phantasm, it's anti-unit, it hits 4 times, it's arts, it deals damage to all enemies and then reduces their defense by 20% for 3 turns. This does not activate first. At MP level 1, it's 450% damage, and if you get all the way to MP level 5, it's 750%. And then the overcharge effect is a deal extra damage against enemies with the charm status. At charge level 1, it's 150%, and if you get them all the way to the final charge level, it's 200%. And then the Bonsi is Summer's Corruption set. When equipped to Summer, increases party's damage against enemies with the charm status by 30%. And that is Summer, So, how do I feel about Summer, Well, this is a unit I've used a whole bunch, so before I actually go into how I feel of them in terms of their power, let's take a quick look at their summer outfits. Very nice. I like the parakeet. Number one, cute little one for tiny not too bad considering the things that they probably could have done in this form. I'll say without saying any more. In stage 3, damn, this is amazing. The only thing that I think is actually missing from, I'm not sure how long I can show that one for before YouTube takes me down. The only thing that I think is a bummer is that there is a blue form with the blue skin, and we never got that as a costume dress. And it has annoyed me that we have never gotten that version of because it's in the summer event, spoilers for the event itself. I would really like them to put in blue Please release the costume dress for blue and maybe make it come with a buff of some kind. So I actually really like Summer because I used her a whole bunch during the time before Summer Ibuki happened. And during the time when Space Ishtar and Summer Kiara were kind of the other go-to AoE arts units, and I always really liked using her, mainly because I think I had her at MP2, which obviously is going to make her do a lot more damage. But the thing I really liked was the charm debuff that she has right here, is the ability to charm the enemy by on her second skill, and then able to do like a whole buttload of damage. So that means that when you are looping, which she's very effective at being able to loop, is that you're able to just give them their charm status on the third turn, and you're able to do a whole buttload of damage. The only thing that I think is a bummer nowadays is that if you're ever going against a fight that is charm immune, that means you can't take advantage of any of this overcharge effect. But when you can take advantage of this charm over effect, it's absolutely amazing. I love it. It made it so that I use her a whole buttload to grind with. Now, you notice how I said that in the past. Well, the reason is that I don't use her as much as I used to in the past is because now I have Summer Ibuki, and Summer Ibuki kind of just like power crept all the AoE arts units that we had that were like in a general sense. So like Avenger, Space Ishtar, Summer Kiara, they all kind of suffered from the same thing, is that once that she kind of dropped into the scene, it became very hard to go back to her once you have her. Like, even with mine being NP2, mine is obviously NP5, but I'm going to assume that if you're in a situation where all of them were NP1, and if I had an NP1 Summer and I had an NP1 Summer Ibuki, I would pick Summer Ibuki over unless it was a very specific set of circumstances, like I was in a very weird challenge quest. Some of the reason why is that when you don't have the charm effect is that some of the damage can kind of be like, I guess basic is kind of the way to go. Like 30% to arts is nice. This kind of debuff on attack buff is nice, but on the very many times I've used her, I don't think it's really come up all that much in terms of increasing her damage, as far as I can tell anyway. The most nice thing about this is the 50% NP gauge charger, though I might also just be not remembering how well this was actually benefiting me. But no, because this is only for when normal attacking. Yeah, debuff for 3 turns to enemies when normal attacking. I very rarely ever used her for that. It was mainly for looping, so I can't really speak too much about it in terms of challenge quest type stuff, so don't take it as that. Just simply as looping, it never came up to me because it literally can't come up. And the NP, I wish it kind of reduced damage by defense by 20% now. I understand why they did this back in the day, was to not, like, I guess, crazy power creep it or so. Like, this would have put her over the top, and this would have kind of made her the go for arts. But then they already did that with Summer Ibuki, so they eventually did do that, and they created a unit. So I think that a buff to Summer would be greatly appreciated, as someone who has used her in the past and just doesn't use her very much anymore. I still occasionally use her when I don't want to use Summer Ibuki, and I'll be like, you know what, I haven't used Summer in a while, let me bring her out. I do really still like using Summer I do like her ability, and I really like her Noble Phantasm. I think it's a very cute Noble Phantasm when you get her to stage 3. It's funny how cute it is when you consider what she looks like. It's like 2 different kind of stats for it, but let me stop talking before I say something that I'll regret later on in life. Really good unit. I just wish that they kind of buffed her, but I feel the same way about all of the AoE units that came out before Summer Ibuki came out, is that Summer Ibuki just like completely overtook everything, that I really wish they kind of went back to those units and kind of buffed them a little bit more. Summer Kama, Summer Kiara, and Space Ishtar. Anyway, that's how I kind of feel about Summer Kamas, and that's my opinion on it. So if you end up going for her, it's because you really like Summer Kama, and I don't blame you. Kama is a very like well-loved character. Don't let me saying these specific things about Kama stop you from going from her. I still think that she will probably still do you perfectly fine, especially during summer was when you would want to use a lot of summer units, and when summer units also get a little bit of a damage boost at the same time. And you can also maybe offset it a little bit by getting a little bit more NP copies, but I would never suggest chasing for additional NP copies. Trust me, as someone who has units at MP5, I feel horrible every single time I've ever gone for an MP5, and I've read a lot of people, I've had to console a lot of people who went for multiple NP copies and came back and said to me, Wokey, I only got one copy out of 2,000 Saint Quartz or something like that. And I'm like, holy fuck, how the fuck do you do that? Statistically, you should have been at least NP2 by this point. That's insane. So don't go chasing them. But it is something that I guess you can do if you wanted to, but again, I don't suggest it. Anyway, that's the end of the video, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you want to give some additional information about the units that I talked about here, feel free to leave them down below. It's good for anyone who's still interested to learn a little bit more about the units, and it's also good for me because I get to read a little bit more about how other people's experience kind of went through with these specific units, and maybe I missed something that other people have said. I'm not perfect. I've missed things in the past, and people have corrected me, and then I've always made sure to bring it up whenever I've done it. Like with there's a decent number of units I've done it with. As I was about to list off one example, I was like, oh man, I've actually done this a good bit of time. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. It's been a very slow April. I haven't had much to do for it, mainly because I'm just waiting for the final grind node to kind of unlock for this summer events. But yeah, I wish you all the best of luck if you decide to end up summoning. I'll see you guys in the next video, whatever it may be, and I wish you the best of luck. Until next time, peace out, and bye-bye.